Have you ever wondered what it truly means to grow older with grace while maintaining independence in the face of aging's challenges? In today's video, we explore the inspiring story of Grandfather Park, a 70-year-old who discovered a unique way to live comfortably in his later years, challenging traditional views on elderly care. Through his journey, you'll gain insight into the realities many seniors experience, from the emotional weight of relying on family to the day-to-day tasks that can feel overwhelming. You'll also see how he built a deep bond with a young couple, showing how genuine relationships can emerge in unexpected ways, providing both companionship and support. By watching until the end, you'll gain valuable insights into the importance of creative thinking when it comes to living arrangements for the elderly, understand the significance of emotional bonds in our lives, and discover practical tips that can help anyone facing similar challenges. Join us as we unpack the wisdom of Grandfather Park's experiences and find inspiration in his approach to maintaining dignity and joy in his life. Don't miss out on this heartfelt exploration of resilience, community, and the art of living well in old age. Make sure to stick around for the full story. It could change the way you think about aging. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. At the age of 70, Grandfather Park found himself reflecting deeply on the various living arrangements he had experienced throughout his life. He had tried living with his children, employing a caregiver, and even residing in a nursing home. Each of these experiences left him feeling unsatisfied and yearning for something more fulfilling in his golden years. After much soul-searching, and by a stroke of luck, he discovered a living arrangement that truly resonated with him, providing him with a sense of comfort and autonomy that he had long sought. He has embraced this new chapter of his life, continuing with it to this day, much to his relief and joy. I turned 70 this year, and I remember the years leading up to my 75th birthday when I faced serious health challenges that ultimately took me away from this world. When my beloved spouse was still by my side, I felt an unshakable sense of security. We had made a promise to one another, to always rely on each other and to take exceptional care of one another during times of illness. Our hospital visits together were filled with laughter and camaraderie, making even the most uncomfortable moments bearable. But when my spouse passed away, everything changed dramatically. Suddenly, the very thought of going to the hospital loomed over me like a dark cloud, filling me with dread and anxiety. As my health declined, I found myself dragging my frail body to the hospital, enduring long, tiresome waits that left me utterly depleted. After each visit, I would collapse into bed, my energy sapped, feeling like a mere shadow of the person I once was. Though I have a son and daughter who love me dearly, they are caught up in the whirlwind of their own lives. I refrained from asking them for help during my hospital visits because I couldn't bear the thought of being a burden. This mindset, born from love and concern for their well-being, ironically led to a situation where, despite my intentions, my children ended up having to take care of me more than they should have. It was during a routine trip to the market that fate dealt me another blow. I stumbled and fell, which resulted in an unexpected hospitalization. The doctor advised me that I would need a minimum of 6 months to recuperate. In the aftermath, my children proposed a plan. I would alternate between staying at my son's and daughter's houses, spending 3 months in each home. However, during those visits, I couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider in their lives. There's a poignant saying that resonates with me. A parent's home is always the children's home, but the children's home can never be the parent's home. How true it rings. No matter how much they tried to make me feel welcome, I felt the weight of that truth heavy on my heart, longing for a sense of belonging and the comfort of my own space. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment one below to let me know that you are still here with me. In this new living arrangement, Grandfather Park has found a sanctuary, a place that allows him to retain his dignity while embracing the independence he cherishes. It's more than just a roof over his head. It's a newfound freedom that nurtures his spirit, reminding him that even in the twilight years, one can still create a fulfilling life filled with joy and connection. Living in my children's homes over the past several months has been an eye-opening experience, one that has etched a deep sense of loneliness into my heart. While I am grateful for their hospitality and the roof over my head, I can't shake the feeling that these houses, no matter how well kept or comfortable, can never truly be called my own. Each day, I try to convince myself that it's enough just to have a place to eat and sleep, but the emotional distance I sense from my children is a constant reminder that something vital is missing. It feels like a shadow looms over every meal as I find myself eating alone in my room while my children gather together, chatting and laughing in a world that seems increasingly foreign to me. Every mealtime brings a fresh wave of heartache, underscoring how isolated I truly am. Their casual suggestion for me to prepare my meals feels more like a dismissal than an invitation. I can't help but feel their disdain. They view me as a relic of the past, an aging figure burdened by the weight of years, and perhaps, in their eyes, a bit messy and out of touch with the modern world. While I try to endure these feelings, the uncomfortable atmosphere in our conversations cuts deeper than any physical pain. I acknowledge that my thoughts may seem outdated and that my words sometimes come out jumbled. Yet, I can't help but reflect on how different things were when they were young. Life felt simpler, filled with shared laughter and understanding. Now, as I navigate this complex terrain of aging, I find myself grappling with their cool, almost distant demeanor, which leaves me feeling invisible in my own family. After 6 long months at my children's homes, I felt an undeniable urge to return to my place, a place that still holds echoes of a life I once cherished. It was then that I truly understood the saying, "All that glitters is not gold." My home, small as it may be, embodies my memories, my life, and a sense of autonomy that I yearn to reclaim. However, my recent leg injury serves as a harsh reminder of my limitations, leaving me in constant pain and restricting my mobility, making me painfully aware of my vulnerability. Living alone presents its own set of daunting challenges, the most pressing being the mundane task of grocery shopping. Each trip to the market feels like a monumental effort, and by the time I return home, my legs throb with pain and I'm drenched in cold sweat, a reminder of my frailty. This is not the life I envisioned for myself in my golden years. Reluctantly, I found myself hiring a caregiver, a decision that weighed heavily on my already strained finances. Paying the monthly salary of 500,000 won is a bitter pill to swallow, especially since it surpasses my pension. I often find myself grappling with the guilt of burdening my children financially, relying on their meager support of just 10,000 won each month to afford this basic help. It's a stark reminder of how difficult it can be to navigate the complexities of aging when resources are limited. As much as I long for the kind of nourishing meals that might be commonplace in wealthier households, I have come to accept my principle: being full is enough. I simply cannot justify spending lavishly on food, especially when my limited budget dictates a different reality. This frugal lifestyle has a cascading effect on my caregiver's ability to stay. Families who can afford caregivers offer environments that are inviting and fulfilling, with good meals that nourish both body and soul. Unfortunately, the caregivers who step into my home often leave after just a few days, unable to adapt to what they perceive as meager rations. The meals, they say, are like rabbit feed, too sparse to sustain the energy needed for their demanding work. As if that weren't disheartening enough, even the agencies that supply caregivers hesitate to send anyone my way, sensing that the conditions here wouldn't allow for long-term satisfaction. Ultimately, my heart is heavy with the realization that I may need to consider alternatives I had hoped to avoid. Unable to secure consistent help in my home, I find myself contemplating the idea of moving into a nursing home, a prospect that feels like yet another loss in a long series of them. I long for a sense of belonging and warmth, and the thought of having to ask my son to assist me in this transition weighs heavily on my heart. It is a painful acknowledgement of the distance that has grown between us and a stark reminder that the path of aging often leads us to places we never wish to go. The nursing home I found myself in was, to be honest, a far cry from what one might envision as a comfortable and well-appointed residence for one's later years. It was inexpensive, yes, but also poorly equipped and lacked many of the amenities that could have made life a bit more bearable. Yet, despite its shortcomings, it was affordable with my pension, which was a considerable relief. After entering this nursing home, I took solace in the fact that my children no longer had to bear the burden of supporting caregiver costs. This realization brought me some comfort, knowing I was alleviating their financial strain, even if just a little. I decided to spend the remainder of my life there, fully aware of the difficulties they faced in their own lives, and I wanted to do my part to lighten their load. However, as someone with a free-spirited nature, I found it challenging to adapt to the rigid, almost military-style communal living that the nursing home enforced. It felt suffocating at times, and despite my best efforts, I struggled to conform to the demands of such an environment. The days dragged on, and after a month of feeling out of place and constrained, I decided to leave the nursing home. Returning home felt like a breath of fresh air, and I resumed my life of solitude, which in many ways felt like a reclaiming of my independence. Thankfully, just as I was settling back into my own space, an online grocery shopping service became available in my area. With this newfound convenience, I asked my daughter to order groceries online for me every day. The items could be picked up from a small mart conveniently located at the entrance of my apartment complex, which was a blessing. I no longer had to walk far, and the relief was palpable. My legs hurt less, allowing me to enjoy a semblance of normalcy again. The young couple running the mart were incredibly kind-hearted. They noticed my struggles with mobility and never hesitated to help me by carrying my items up to the elevator. Over time, as we interacted more frequently, a genuine friendship blossomed between us. Their warmth and compassion brought joy to my days, and I cherished the moments we spent together. This comfortable routine continued for 6 months, and while I was not dissatisfied with my life, I couldn't shake off the reality that many face immediate worries about the future. As I aged, I became increasingly aware of the gradual decline of my physical strength, and with it came an unsettling anxiety about the challenges of old age. I realized that a day would inevitably come when living alone would no longer be feasible, and the thought of relying on others for my survival was daunting. One day, as I headed to the small mart to pick up my usual items, I overheard the young couple arguing. I stood quietly beside them, my heart sinking as I listened to their conversation, which revealed the strains of their financial struggles. The wife expressed her worry for their child, passionately defending her decision to take more than 100,000 won from their limited living expenses to buy durian for their little one. It was heartbreaking to witness their distress. The husband countered her, insisting that they could not afford such indulgences, especially with their precarious situation. The wife argued back, saying that her daughter had long desired the exotic fruit and that treating her every few years was hardly a waste. Yet the husband, filled with concern for their financial stability, cautioned her about the necessity of careful spending and questioned what they would do if they drained their funds and couldn't cover their daughter's school fees. Standing there, I felt an overwhelming sense of empathy for them. Their argument was a poignant reminder of the burdens many families face, and it resonated deeply with my worries about the future. The reality of our struggles connected us in an unspoken way, underscoring the fragile balance between desire and necessity, joy and survival. Hearing the story unfold before me, a brilliant idea sparked in my mind like a light bulb illuminating a dark room. The thought struck me with such clarity and warmth that I could hardly contain my excitement. I decided to approach the young couple who had shown me such kindness and support and proposed an arrangement that I believed would benefit us all. I offered them $200,000 each month if they would come to my house every day to handle a few essential tasks. doing the laundry, tidying up my living space, and preparing 2 simple meals. I reassured them that I only needed 2 uncomplicated meals each day, nothing extravagant, just the basics to nourish me. This arrangement meant that, even though the couple would be working at my home daily, it wouldn't consume a significant portion of their time or energy. When I first suggested the idea, I could see a flicker of hesitation in their eyes, a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. They hesitated, expressing that they didn't see a reason to accept money from someone they considered a friend. It was heartwarming to see their reluctance, but I insisted, emphasizing that I truly wanted to help them financially, and after several gentle nudges, they finally relented and agreed. I could sense their initial reservations giving way to acceptance, as if they realized that I was extending a genuine opportunity, a gesture of goodwill. In truth, paying them $200,000 a month was a fraction of the cost compared to hiring a caregiver or moving into a nursing home. This realization filled me with gratitude. Not only was it a practical solution, but it was also a great benefit for me, allowing me to maintain my independence while providing them with a steady income. They carved out time each day to come to my home, bringing life and energy into my space as they prepared meals and tidied up. Living alone often felt isolating, but their presence transformed my days into something more vibrant and fulfilling. The work was light for me, and I found joy in the simple routine we established together. Over the years, this young couple has become an integral part of my life. We have developed a bond that goes beyond mere employer and employee. It has blossomed into a friendship that truly warms my heart. Their dedication and meticulous care have surprised even me, considering how close we've become. At 80 years old, I never imagined I could find such satisfaction and companionship without relying on hired help or placing a burden on my children. Knowing I could navigate my golden years comfortably without the fear of loneliness or the stigma of a nursing home fills me with immense joy. The heartfelt service they provide for just $200,000 a month is not merely a transaction. It is a source of happiness that enriches my life in ways I could never have anticipated. I made a heartfelt promise to the couple who had shown me such kindness and compassion in my twilight years. If they continued to care for me with the same dedication they had been showing, I would reward them with a separate bonus of $5,000. The young couple reacted with deep gratitude, their eyes lighting up with disbelief and joy as they expressed how significant that amount was to them. They shared that it could transform their lives, providing them with a sense of security that they had been desperately seeking. Their heartfelt words resonated with me. They said that if they were fortunate enough to encounter good-hearted elderly individuals, they would care for them even more devotedly. This sentiment filled my heart with warmth and hope. Thanks to this beautiful arrangement, I felt a renewed sense of stability in my old age, as if the clouds of uncertainty had begun to part, allowing rays of sunlight to filter through. In the next chapter of our narrative, we will delve into the poignant story of Grandpa Kim, an 80-year-old man who has discovered a way to navigate the difficult waters of his final days with dignity and comfort, despite facing significant economic challenges after losing his independence. Many elderly individuals harbor a profound fear of losing their autonomy, and rightly so. The thought of living a life reliant on others for basic care can feel like an insurmountable burden, akin to losing the very essence of life itself. This struggle is especially heartbreaking for those, like Grandpa Kim, who find themselves in precarious financial situations. For him, ensuring a comfortable existence during his golden years is not merely a desire. It has become a daunting challenge that weighs heavily on his heart. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Grandpa Kim, and this year I proudly celebrate my 80th birthday. 3 years ago, my beloved wife passed away after a long and arduous battle with illness. And since that heartbreaking day, I have been navigating the world alone. While I do have an only daughter, her life has been riddled with challenges and hardship. My son-in-law, whom I had hoped would be a supportive partner, has proven to be unreliable. His low income and abusive behavior towards my daughter cast a shadow over our family, leaving me feeling utterly helpless. My daughter, now in her late 50s, has never truly experienced a day dedicated to her happiness. Instead, she tirelessly dedicates her life to her husband and son, with her existence reduced to the monotonous cycles of commuting and caregiving. The love that should have uplifted her has instead become a source of torment, as my son-in-law's cruel nature renders her powerless to escape. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. It pains me deeply to witness my daughter suffer at the hands of her husband, who, despite lacking in many ways, possesses a manipulative talent that keeps her bound to him. Whenever she dares to voice her desire for a divorce, my son-in-law resorts to violence, effectively silencing her and extinguishing any hope of liberation. The brutality he inflicts upon her is fueled by a chilling awareness that in our household, she has no one to defend her. In our home, apart from me, an elderly man who has been rendered impotent, there are no other men to advocate for her. This absence leaves my daughter vulnerable to his relentless harassment, as he knows he can act without fear of reprisal. My grandson, now over 20, has grown up in a household steeped in fear and intimidation, which has tragically stifled his ability to stand up for his mother. Observing my daughter's plight fills me with sorrow. She cannot protect herself, and I find myself utterly incapable of providing the support she so desperately needs. During my wife's lifetime, we were each other's crutch, and together we managed to survive the trials life threw at us. However, since her passing, the burden of existence has become overwhelmingly heavy for me to bear alone. Last year, a devastating stroke struck me down, and after enduring long and arduous rehabilitation, I was left with paralysis on the right side of my body. The weight of this reality settled in like a heavy fog, leading to countless moments of despair and anger directed at an unkind fate. I spent days engulfed in tears, grappling with the profound injustice of my circumstances. My dreams of independence slipped further from my grasp, leaving a void that seemed impossible to fill. Each tear that fell was a lament not just for my lost capabilities, but for the life I had envisioned for my family, a life of love, respect, and security. In that raw vulnerability, I felt a longing to reclaim my role as a protector, a provider, and a source of strength for my daughter. I find myself in a challenging situation, one that weighs heavily on my heart and soul. As I sit here reflecting on my life, I realize that I don't have children who can care for me in my twilight years, nor do I possess the financial means to afford the elder care services that so many of my peers rely upon. My pension, a mere $3,801 each month, feels like a drop in the ocean when faced with the daunting reality of aging. To add to my worries, I have only about $1,001 in savings, a sum that feels utterly insignificant against the backdrop of escalating costs. With this limited financial resource, the prospect of moving into a nursing home or hiring a caregiver to assist me at home seems like a distant dream, a luxury I cannot attain. The emotional toll of my situation deepens when I recall the day I was discharged from the hospital. It was my grandson who came to take me home, a comforting presence amid the whirlwind of my health challenges. However, my daughter is in a difficult position herself. She feels suffocated by her husband's oppressive nature and is unable to reach out for help, leaving me feeling more isolated than ever. Though she has retired, her responsibilities seem to multiply. She is trapped in the cycle of preparing meals and caring for her husband, which robs her of the freedom to live her life fully. Initially, once I returned home, I relied on delivery food for my meals, navigating this new chapter with uncertainty. I felt a mix of gratitude and frustration as my grandson would order food for me online since I struggled with the technology myself. Each time, I would transfer him 10,001, and when that ran out, I would sheepishly ask him to place another order. To facilitate these deliveries, I kept my front door open, allowing the delivery person to enter freely, handing me my meals like a lifeline. My grandson would occasionally come by to help with small tasks, such as emptying the bathroom, assisting me with bathing, or taking out the trash. However, over time, I could sense his growing dissatisfaction. His words stung when he expressed that he hardly had any free time and that he was anxious his girlfriend might leave him if she found out about the burden I was placing on him. It was a painful realization, but deep down, I knew he was right. I understood that asking him to continue caring for me indefinitely was not a viable solution. He has his own life to lead, one that involves dating and the hopes of marriage. I never wanted to be a hindrance to him, and it broke my heart to think of my needs coming at the expense of his happiness. The harsh reality is that elderly individuals like myself often find it impossible to afford the costly services required as we age without adequate financial support. The prices for nursing homes start at a minimum of $5,000, a figure that my meager pension cannot even begin to cover. Hiring a home caregiver is even more exorbitant, making that choice feel entirely out of reach. After countless sleepless nights spent deliberating my options, I finally stumbled upon a potential solution, an approach that seemed to align perfectly with my needs without straining my already limited finances. Discovering this method brought an immense wave of relief over me, allowing me to experience a sense of peace and security that I hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time in ages, I was able to sleep soundly. My worries momentarily lifted as I began to envision a more hopeful future. The following day marked the much-anticipated weekend, a time that promised rest and a break from the usual hustle and bustle. As the soft morning light filtered through the curtains, I felt a stirring in my heart, a yearning to connect with my grandson. Without hesitation, I reached for my phone and called him, my voice laced with eagerness. I implored him to come quickly, sensing that our conversation would be important and life-changing. He hesitated, mentioning he had pressing matters to attend to, but the urgency in my tone compelled him to hurry over, which filled me with a sense of relief. When he arrived, I invited him to sit beside my bed, a place that felt like a stage for the significant discussion we were about to have. With my heart pounding, I laid out two options before him, choices that weighed heavily on my mind. The first option was to sell our family home, a place filled with memories and love, and use the proceeds to enter a nursing home where I would spend my remaining days in a facility devoid of the warmth of family. The thought of that lonely existence sent a chill through me. The second option, however, sparked a glimmer of hope to transfer ownership of the house to him. In exchange, I asked for his commitment to live with me, to perhaps get married, and even start a family right there under our shared roof. I shared with him my modest savings of $1,000, enough to assist with household expenses, and emphasized that my desire to live together stemmed not from a need for care, but from a deeper understanding of the realities we face. I realized it was unrealistic to expect a young person in their 20s to shoulder the responsibility of caring for an elderly person who struggled with independence. It's often said that even biological children can find it overwhelming to care for aging parents until the very end of life. How much more challenging would it be for a grandson from a different generation? The enormity of that realization weighed heavily on my heart. To ease the burden, I had planned to hire a part-time caregiver to assist with the more demanding tasks like meal preparation and laundry. Simple yet vital chores that I could manage at a modest cost of $2,000 a month. My pension of $3,801 could easily cover these expenses. The greatest comfort of living with my grandson, I believed, was the occasional personal care he could provide, allowing me the dignity of support in moments of vulnerability. For someone like me, who can no longer navigate life independently, the thought of being alone at home without help in an emergency is a haunting fear. To my delight, my grandson wholeheartedly embraced the idea. He expressed that living with me would be a breath of fresh air, especially since he often struggled to live with his father's rough temperament. His willingness warmed my heart and reaffirmed my belief that this arrangement could bring joy and fulfillment to both our lives. I also took comfort in knowing that my home was spacious enough to accommodate a growing family, with ample room even if he were to marry and have children. The very next day, my grandson returned with the caregiver he found through an agency, and I was relieved to pay her a monthly salary of $1,801. Her role would begin each morning at 9 a.m., tending to the house, washing my clothes, and preparing lunch before leaving for the day. She would return in the evening to help with dinner preparations and cleaning, ensuring that my home remained a sanctuary of warmth and care. With this new arrangement, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me, knowing that I could rely on my grandson and the caregiver to create a nurturing environment where love and support would flourish, enriching both our lives in this beautiful new chapter together. I've been thoughtfully providing the caregiver with $1,001 each month for meals, ensuring we address any remaining or insufficient amounts separately. This arrangement has worked remarkably well for me. In fact, the caregiver has often returned a few hundred won at the end of each month, since I typically eat only 2 meals a day and have never been particularly fond of meat-side dishes. With my modest eating habits, $1,001 has consistently been more than enough to cover my needs. Currently, I'm fortunate to have my grandson living with me, which adds warmth and joy to my daily life. As we've gradually made repairs to the house, it has transformed into a more comfortable and convenient living space for all of us. What brings me immense happiness is the way the caregiver interacts harmoniously with my grandson and granddaughter. This has fostered a strong sense of family unity that I deeply cherish. It warms my heart to see how our relationships have flourished, creating an environment filled with love and support. I feel genuinely satisfied and at peace with this lifestyle I have crafted. Thanks to my careful planning, I find myself enjoying a comfortable old age with minimal expenses. The bonus is that I can save over $1,001 from my monthly pension. This feeling of financial security is incredibly uplifting. I firmly believe that elderly individuals, even those who may not have a solid financial foundation, can discover living arrangements that cater to their needs as long as they actively seek solutions. It is every elderly person's right to live comfortably and to approach the end of life without suffering. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Human nature, however, can be practical and even selfish at times. It's disheartening to witness how even the strongest bonds, like those between siblings, can falter under the weight of life's challenges. This reality underscores the importance for elderly people to have their safety nets in place to avoid unnecessary pain and hardship. Regardless of how filial their children may be, having an emergency fund is vital for any elderly person. The significance of this fund cannot be overstated. Even a modest amount can serve as a beacon of hope during crises, providing a sense of security when life feels unpredictable. There comes a moment in life when familial bonds inevitably recognize the importance of financial support. In the practical world, sometimes a single bank transfer can resolve a multitude of problems, alleviating stress and worry. While we can lean on moral values to call for unconditional filial piety from our children, we must also be considerate of their real-life struggles. Such demands, if made without understanding their circumstances, can easily backfire and create tension. Ultimately, life is a journey of personal growth and cultivation. No matter how old we become or whether we can live independently, maintaining a positive mindset and embracing tranquility allows us to discover the best version of ourselves. Each day presents a new opportunity for growth, connection, and joy, even in our later years. Thank you for joining me on this journey of reflection and growth as we explore the importance of financial planning, family dynamics, and the right to a comfortable old age. As we wrap up, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on what you've learned today. What insights have resonated with you the most? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please comment below with one key takeaway that you plan to apply in your life moving forward. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, please leave your comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insightful content. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share valuable lessons that can enrich our lives. Thank you for being a part of our community.